want to thank everybody for attending today. And to start, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about our relationship with Allworx. KT partnered with Allworx in the summer of 2017, about 3 years ago, after KT purchased a local IT company. So Allworx was not new to the Black Hills. We inherited quite a few customers. In this short time, KT has achieved a platinum level dealer status with Allworx. So we've been doing pretty good with the overall relationship there. Like KT, Allworx has been around for a little over 20 years. Some of you recall KT was a Toshiba dealer prior to Toshiba filing for bankruptcy. So, talk about a bad day there. So since that time, we've converted many of our Toshiba customers to the Allworx. It's been an easy transition for our customers, and everybody really likes the Allworx phones. Their systems are easy to use, they're easy to program, and everybody just loves easy. So KT has had great success with the Allworx systems in school districts, healthcare, government, and just all kinds of businesses in general. Allworx offers some excellent remote worker solutions, and Richard's going to cover that in more detail in his presentation. So, we've set up many organizations to work from home. I work from home personally, and it's real easy for me to work from home and still manage all my phone calls, change my presence to being at home. People know I'm working at home. And it's just been real easy in that respect. So we've got that going on. I also wanted to mention that there are a couple new laws that came out in February of this year that were enacted regarding 911 and phone systems. So the carries law, it states that a person must be able to dial 911 without having to dial a prefix. When you're in a phone system and you have to dial like a 9 or an 8 first, this law states that you do not have to dial that first. The other law, the Section 506 of the Ray-Baum Act, it states that your remote worker, they must send the address information, correct address information to the 911 dispatcher. So I'm working from home. If I dial 911 or one of my kids goes to my phone and dials it, that it actually gives my home address instead of the business address. So Allworx does comply with both of those. It needs to be programmed to do that, obviously, but we do comply with both of those laws, and that will help keep your employees safe. So pretty much with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Richard. And we'll take it from there. I'm available throughout the whole call for any questions. So, Richard,
thanks.
You're up.
Oh, goodness. I was just going to let you keep going. You were doing a great job. So
thanks,
Patty.
Sure.
I really appreciate it. I appreciate everybody at KT Connections so much for arranging this call today. And like Patty said, we joined forces a little over 3 years ago, and it has been just a wonderful partnership. We're very appreciative of all the efforts and the work that KT Connections does. They are an outstanding company to work with. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about, I think, something that everybody's been experiencing over the last couple months, which is the remote workforce model. So it's kind of interesting that Patty mentioned her self-working remotely. I too have been working remotely for probably around 13 or 14 years now. And in the tech sector, it's something that we've seen a great deal and we utilize a great deal. And of course, we say we jokingly drink our own Kool-Aid, but we're always talking to customers about, the benefits of having a remote workforce. And a lot of companies are very hesitant to do it for a lot of reasons. And it's a business model change, it's an operational change, it's something that's different. And either fortunately or unfortunately, with this COVID-19 crisis, it's forced everybody to go to a remote workforce operation. And so As a result, we've done some research on our end to find out what that's like for people and what they're experiencing, and so I'm going to share some of that stuff with you today, and then I'll share with you also how we do it, how Allworx as a company provides the ability for an entity to be able to basically work anywhere, take a call at anywhere, anytime on basically any device. And so we'll talk about that going forward. And like Patty said, if you guys have any questions, I'll definitely break at times and check in, but we also have a chat function on this Zoom conference. So if you want to just type in a question on the chat function, we've got Patty and Rod kind of monitoring that, and then they can interrupt me at any time to have a question asked, but we'll definitely make sure that we give time for questions. So first, talking about remote workforce adoption. Again, for a lot of entities, it's something that outside of this COVID issue might not be thought about, because there are a lot of there can be challenges with it. People worry about, effectiveness of communications between employees, maybe worry about employee productivity, or how, if they're not in the office, if we can't keep an eye on them, how do we know they're doing their job, and various things, different fears that come up in a remote workforce environment. So one of the things that I always like to address are how do we overcome those? And one of the very first ways is to invest in technology, because technology has the means. We've been doing it for quite a long time now. So it's making sure you get technology that you can use effectively, that's very easy to deploy, and can be activated quickly and effectively. In fact, I'll show you. We'll show you in a couple of slides some quotes from customers who have expressed how it has been for them to make this move, and I'll share some stories with you on that. But we want to make sure that the solution can move from the office to the remote or home environment, and if need be, back if you want to as well. So the technology is a key element. On an outside the technology element, you kind of want to make sure that you communicate clearly, and often. So on a daily basis, I'm talking to coworkers located throughout the country, throughout North America, honestly. My responsibility in my role is what we call the Pacific West states, which includes you folks in the Dakotas, but I also have all of Western Canada and all the way up to Alaska. So I'm communicating with people on a daily basis, either over the telephone, over chat functionality, over email, whatever it needs to be done to make sure that we're getting our work done, and we do that in an effective, clear manner. And then we focus on community too. So we've done things, and I'm sure you've all heard this, we've done some work happy hours on Friday at the end of the day, where we all get together as a group, or our regions get together, and we just talk about everything, about how the week went, or how our personal lives are going, or whatever. We just kind of foster this sense of community, almost consider it a virtual water cooler chat, right? So just gives time for people to connect with one another and see what's going on in their lives. And then we focus on results, right? We want to make sure that we're focusing on the work getting done and the results being done, and how and when and where that's done. It's more important about the actual results. So maintaining people's accountability and trusting that the people that have been hired will do their jobs and get it done. Maybe on their own terms and in their own time, but as long as the work is getting done and the results are being produced, that's ultimately what's most important. So when you kind of combine all of those, it really does make for an effective workforce. And one of the great things about creating a remote workforce is that it allows us to go beyond our borders, so to speak, or beyond our office, and create a few things with our employment status. So one of the most immediate benefits is, in some cases, people are realizing they don't need as much office space as they do when they house everybody in a single location or multiple locations. By having them work from their homes or remotely, and maybe absorbing the cost of their internet access, is a lot less expensive than the per head capita cost of an office space, a Class A office space. So that's one of the immediate cost savings benefits that organizations start to see. The other thing is that it actually starts to expand the talent pool. So as organizations grow and they need to hire more people, you can actually now go beyond your city boundaries, your county boundaries, or even your state boundaries. We start to see businesses that go to a more remote workforce model, seeing that they can maybe, in your case, hire people from North Dakota, from Minnesota, from Nebraska, from adjoining states that allow you to reach out and find a broader talent workforce base. Then some of the side benefits, and these are some statistics that we got from different independent third-party research organizations that found that people who have the ability to have the option to work remotely are more likely to recommend or talk about their company to other people, and it raises the overall satisfaction level of working for that company. So they see about an 81% of the workforce has more of a tendency to start talking about their company from a prideful standpoint by letting them know they let me do this. It's one of the aspects I love about working for my company in particular is the fact now that I can work remotely. It also, like I mentioned, it gives the company the ability to utilize talent to access specific skills that might not be available in their geographic location. So it increases that ability by almost 60%. So it's always great to hear that from myself or from KT Connections, but we wanted to throw in a couple of quotes, and we recently have been promoting this on our social media platforms. So if you were to go to Allworx on LinkedIn, for example, or on Facebook, you'd see not only these two quotes, but you'd see quotes from other organizations throughout North America. And the one I want to highlight, of course, is KT Connections, because this is who we're talking about right now. In fact, Patty, I give you a sec. Do you want to talk a little bit about John and how that worked for them? If not, that's okay. I can talk to it.
I mean, just real quick, we got their receptionists, their scheduling groups, working from home within a 24-hour period, and all inbound calls coming in to their main number or for their scheduling number automatically get routed just like they were all sitting in the office. So it was a very easy transition. Again, back to easy. It was very easy, and it's the call quality is great. So
fantastic.
Very happy.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the one on the right is a law firm that utilizes our system. They're headquartered in Las Vegas, but they have a law firm in Miami as well. And when the state of Nevada did a very quick lockdown, like a lot of the Western states did, we had to move them to a remote workforce very quickly with a partner of ours in Las Vegas. And we literally did it in less than a day. I mean, they told us on the day that they needed to do it overnight. Things were changed. And they were able to take laptops and phones and different devices home. And by the next day, they had attorneys answering calls. They had admin people, office managers, with literally no disruption to their service. So people were calling into their office the next day, not even realizing they weren't in their office, and it was that seamless for them. And we've got multiple stories like that where it was just a very fast turnaround to get people working remotely. So going forward, some other things that are, I think, really important is we see an increased level of productivity. So when people worry about how well people are doing their jobs, or will there be a cutoff or a lag off of how effective they are in doing their jobs, we've actually seen the reverse from that. So through another story, we actually see an 86% of employees and employers noticing that the workforce is more productive when they're working off-site. And with one of the big things is actually they find there can be more disruptions within the office than when the employees are working from home. The other thing that we've noticed, and I can speak to this personally, is that the workday becomes a little longer in some regards. So for me, I cover 4 different time zones. And I'm sometimes already answering emails or chatting with people at 6 or 6. I tend to be an early riser, so that's me. But when I'm having that first cup of coffee, I'm already responding to emails at 6:30 Pacific time. And then come around 7, I'll maybe take a quick break, grab a bowl of cereal, whatever, and then I'm back to work. I don't have to deal with a commute. So in some areas, this isn't as big a deal, but I'm in Portland, Oregon, and so places like Portland and Seattle and maybe Boise and other areas, or depending on how far you are from your office, you have that commute time, right? So you're spending maybe a good 30 minutes to an hour getting ready, getting in your car, driving to the location, getting out of the car, getting to your office, getting settled at your desk, and getting ready. Well, while other people are doing that, I'm already working. I'm already sitting down at my desk and doing that. And the same thing occurs in the evening when people are packing up and doing the reverse. I'm still able to work. And then in the evening when things are quiet and maybe we're watching TV, I might have my laptop or my mobile device and I might see an email that I could respond to. So my workday actually becomes longer, but I have less stress because I'm doing it from my home. And we're seeing that with a lot of employees. As a result of that, we're seeing a happiness factor increase or a satisfaction increase from workers. So we see a higher satisfaction rating among remote workforce individuals than the ones that come into the office themselves, which then in turn gives the employer a higher ability to retain those employees. They have a lower churn rate when they offer the remote workforce option to an employee. Stanford University and Stanford Business did some research on this, and they found that there was actually a 50% attrition rate or a drop when employees are ability to work from home. They're less likely to want to leave that company. Again, wrapping back around the happiness factor and how happy they are working for that organization. And it also, like I just mentioned, reduces stress, right? And when you reduce the stress of an employee, it creates a more positive and happy attitude, and that's where they want to stay at that point. So it strengthens your workforce. It actually can make them more productive, and those are all great things of a remote workforce organization. So the other piece then, is keeping that going forward. From this point forward, it's of course a business decision on whether you want to do that or not. But we do see that when you at least give an employee a chance maybe to work remotely 1 day a week, that helps the workforce, right? The ability to keep the people working remotely or the team's success or projection to working remote over a longer period of time creates success for the organization and the employee as well. So how do we at Allworx do that? We have a lot of different tools. We have a lot of different ways that we do that, and I'll start to dive into that a little bit now. But just to give you an FYI, I didn't do this at the beginning. Allworx has been in business since the early 90s, and we serve well in excess of 50,000 businesses throughout North America. And actually, for many years, a lot of our businesses who are headquartered in the U.S. or Canada have had remote employees, worldwide. So we have servers and phones located on every continent and almost every country around the globe. So remote workforce is something that's kind of embedded in our DNA. We've just spent a lot of time doing it. We continue to enhance it because we see it being an important factor going forward. So I'm 27 minutes past the hour. I'm going to take a quick break and a sip of water and just check in to see if we have any questions at the moment.
I don't have any questions submitted to the Q&A right now.
Okay. And anybody online that wants to ask a question, we'll take a second. If not, I will continue to move forward. Oh, here's a good one. Well, Mark, on his first day as an Allworx employee. So this was, we have Mark Nacy, who's on from Allworx as well, and he actually joined us during the COVID crisis, so his very first day of work was done as a remote employee, and we were able to get him set up in quickly and efficiently. So good point. Thanks, Mark. Okay, so Allworx, how do we do it? How do we help the remote workforce environment? So one of the simplest ways, there we go. One of the simplest ways that we've been able to do it is something we've been doing for a very long time, which is a remote phone. So an example would be, as anybody who has an Allworx telephone in their office, they can actually take that phone anywhere in the world. They can take it home, they can take it to a hotel, they can take it to a remote office and plug it in to what's called a Cat5 or a network connection cable. And that phone will find its home on its own. Now, there is some programming on the back end that we do, or the folks at KT Connection do, to give that phone a set of identifier keys on it that marry it with the business phone system or the PBX at the main location. But once that is done, and that doesn't take very long to do at all, the phone gets on a network connection, it finds that server, and it verifies itself against this very long alphanumeric code that's embedded in the phone, and then it's up and running. And all of this occurs in usually under 30 seconds, regardless of where the physical phone is located. Then at that point, it just becomes another extension on the network. Just like if you're in the office, you can 4-digit or 3-digit extension dial between other phones back to the headquarters or to another office, just like you're sitting at your desk. And that's something we've been doing for a very long time. The phone that I'm actually speaking to you on right now is exactly that case. I'm in Portland, Oregon. Our main phone server is in Rochester, New York. And so every day I connect back through Rochester, and I can make calls to anybody on the network just dialing their extension. Very simple, very effective. I think one of the most unique scenarios I always like to share is we have a company in San Diego, California that we've been doing business with for quite a while. They consult the U.S. military, and they're headquartered in San Diego, working with some of the joint bases down in the Southern California area. And they actually have 2 remote Allworx phones in Afghanistan, and they're located on military installations, and they're in-country consultants can get on a phone and 4-digit extension dial from Afghanistan back to San Diego when they need to talk to somebody. So another thing that we decided to do, so a few years ago, we actually developed a new phone line, which we've had for a while now, and it's called Verge. The product name is Verge. And when we built that system, we wanted to create what we called a business first or a mobile first type of solution, because we know a lot of people had a need for their cell phones, and a lot of people use their cell phones. I'm old enough to remember when a cell phone was a really cool thing to have, but not everybody had them. And nowadays, it's the opposite. Everybody has them, and if you don't have one, they kind of look at you like you're from another planet almost. So because there's such a driven desire to use a cell phone and at the same time have a desk phone, we decided to try to have those 2 devices work as seamlessly with one another as possible. So that basically, again, you could move between devices or talk on any device anywhere at any time again. So the 4 areas that we focused on was something called real-time contact sharing, instant handoff, remote control, and Bluetooth hands-free, which everybody's familiar with. So with regards to contact sharing, in the old days, if you had a business phone and you had a cell phone, you would have to, if you wanted to have somebody's contact number on your device, you would have to enter it multiple times. So you'd have it on your cell phone, you'd probably have it on your PC and Outlook, and then you'd probably want to add it to your business phone. Although in the old days, adding a contact to a business phone wasn't necessarily an easy thing to do. So what we decided to do was create an environment where you could add a contact to any of those applications, your smartphone, your PC, your desk phone, one time only, and share it across all your devices. So now, if Patty and I are having lunch together and I want to give her my new updated business phone number, she can enter it in her Allworx application on her smartphone, save it, and now when she goes back to her desk, it's already on her business phone and it's already on her PC ready for her to use. She doesn't have to re-enter it time and time again. We also have the ability to pull information from different resources. So you could pull it from LinkedIn, you could pull it from Google accounts, you could pull it from Salesforce. There's different aspects. And the cool thing is this is based on the individual user. So if Patty said, I want to use that technology, I love that, but Rod said, no, I don't want to have all my contact information stored on the Allworx server, and I don't want to go through that, then he doesn't have to. She can choose in, he can choose out, and the great thing is you can choose in or out anytime you want. Anytime you decide you want to do something different, the system allows that, and it makes it very simple for the individual user to do that. So that's the concept and what we do behind single contact sharing. Okay. The next thing we introduced was instantaneous call handoff. So in an old world environment, again, you could have a conversation with somebody on their business phone, and then they realize, oh, I'm sorry, I have to go to an appointment or whatever, and they might tell you, you know what, I'll hang up, and when I get in my car, I'll call you back on my cell phone from my car. And usually what happens then, the person gets in their car and they start driving and they get distracted by something on the radio, or they're trying to put in their map, or they get another phone call that comes in between all that, and then they forget to call that individual back and they, miss a day or two. With instantaneous handoff, when you initiate a call on a Verge handset, you'll see a soft key on the phone itself, and right above where I've circled, you'll see the word handoff. So when you're on an active call, that button will be activated, and all you have to do is push it. And the moment you push it, the call is instantly moved over to the cell phone. And at that point, you can just continue your conversation from the cell phone. You can leave your office or your home. You can get in your car, drive away, and you're still having a conversation with that individual. It doesn't drop it, doesn't make you call back, nothing. There's no programming that the individual has to do. This is all set up within the Allworx system, something that KT Connections can help you with, but it's a great feature. The same is true in the reverse. Let's say you're in your car and you're coming back to your office and that cell phone battery is dying. That's always an issue with cell phone batteries. If you didn't have your USB cable in your car or whatever, or forgot to plug it in and the battery's dying, once you get back to your office, you'll have a handoff button on your cell phone right there. You can also hit that button and it'll move the call right back to the desk phone. So you can do it in either direction, and it just gives you the convenience without having to do call forwarding or calling back or anything like that. You can just hit one single button to make it seamless and easy to keep on that phone call. Okay. The other thing we introduced is something called remote control. So with remote control, you can take your tablet, you can take your cell phone running the mobile application called Reach, and you can actually control your desk phone from your workforce environment. So again, whether that's at home, at your home area, or whether that's in your office environment, you do need to have you need to be in the same environment, whether that's your house or your office building. But basically, it gives you the ability to control that phone with your smartphone. So I'll give you an example, is we have a very, very large corporate nursery here in outside of Portland. And they do plants and all sorts of things for large corporations like Nike and Intel and Nordstrom's. Oh, hello? Okay. You guys can still hear me okay, right?
We can hear you, Richard.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, what that nursery does is they have their phone calls come into one main person. And she doesn't sit at her desk for 8 hours a day and take calls. She has to do other things. She works for the owner. She moves around to other areas. But she wears a headset, and whenever a call comes in, she can tap her headset and answer the phone call. At that point, wherever she is in the office, if she needs to put the call on hold, if she needs to transfer it, if she needs to park it, if she needs to conference, whatever she needs to do, she can do that on her cell phone from the location where she's at in the office. She doesn't need to go running back, sprinting back to the desk phone to do that. She can control it anywhere she wants. So it's made her life a whole lot easier because she isn't sprinting around the office having to do different directives on the phone. She can just do it remotely. The other thing, of course, is the capability of Bluetooth. So you can have a Bluetooth headset paired with your Verge phone, but you can also pair your mobile phone with your Verge phone. So you could pair your iPhone or your Android phone, and you can program it on one of the programmable feature keys on your phone and actually answer your cell phone on your Verge phone. So you might ask, why would I do something like that? So when I'm sitting at my desk, I have my iPhone on one side, I have my Verge phone on the other side, and when my iPhone rings, so does my Verge phone. And so now what I can do is I can use my headset that's paired with my Verge phone to answer that call. I can use the speaker, which the speaker on the Verge phone is 100% better than the speaker on my iPhone. I can also then connect people within my own network. So if Patty calls me on my cell phone and I want to connect John, who works for Allworx, if I answer that call through my Verge phone, I can now conference us all together, even though one of the calls is coming through my cell phone. Because I'm using the Verge phone, I can marry those calls together. It just makes it so much simpler and easier to do that type of thing. And I can actually marry or I can pair multiple devices to my Verge phone too, if I choose to do that. The other thing that we have, and pretty much every manufacturer does, is what's called a presence setting, right? And a presence setting notifies people on your network of the activity that you're in or the state that you're in at any particular time. So that could be anything from in an office, at a meeting, on vacation, on a business trip, at home, away, busy, or do not disturb. And I'll show you kind of an example of this real time here in just a moment. But the great thing about the presence setting is you can access them from any device. Again, I can access them from my PC, my Verge phone, or my mobile device. And within each one of those presence settings, I can have a unique voicemail greeting. So I don't need to change voicemail greetings anymore. I set one voicemail greeting one time for each one of those presence settings. And whenever I change it, or I can actually pair it with my Outlook. So when a calendar event occurs, the phone system can change my presence setting automatically for me. So if I'm in a meeting, my Outlook can change automatically the status on my presence setting for me. It's a very cool feature that we have built in. But then that voicemail greeting is activated once it's changed. So again, a very good way to keep your status updated for other people within your network so that they know what you're doing, okay? I'll take one quick break here just to see if there's any questions and take a sip of water. Uh-oh, am I answering too many questions already? We don't have any questions. All right, I'll just keep going forward. So the mobile application, I've kind of talked about this already, is Reach. Reach will work on an Apple or an Android smartphone or tablet, your choice. This is an individual license that is purchased through through KT Connections that is assigned to the server, the PBX that you folks have. And it's yours once you have it. So in other words, if you assign it to employee Jones and they're using it on their smartphone, and next week they come in and they decide to retire or leave, or they're moving and they need to leave their position for whatever reason, you can remotely deactivate that that Reach application off of their phone and reassign it to somebody else in your organization. You don't have to go buy another license. So that's something you can work with KT on determining how many licenses you think you need and who you want them assigned to and getting those set up. This is a rough screenshot idea of what it looks like on an iOS device. It's very similar on an Android. The layout might be slightly different, but they're basically the same. And on the left there, you can see what it looks like on a tablet. On the left-hand side, you've got your contacts, which you can filter in 3 different ways based on users within your own company, or you can include your personal contacts in there as well. You can put stars next to important ones. You can just click on the little phone, the green phone you see. If you want to call Charles back, all you have to do is click on that little phone and it'll dial from that device. The great thing is too, when you're utilizing Reach, wherever you are, the call goes out through the phone system, so they never see your cell phone. That's one of the big advantages that I didn't mention earlier, is that your cell phone number is protected. So if you want to have one phone number for your contacts to reach you anywhere, all you need to do is give them your business phone number, and you can answer your business calls or place business calls from the Reach application. And they'll honestly not know whether you're at home, in the office, or where you're at. It'll look like it's coming from your business phone. There's also at the bottom some tabs for looking at like caller history, contacts, voicemail, so you can access your voicemail and you'll get a notification when you have a voicemail. Additional information is set in there as well. In the upper right-hand corner is that presence key. So if you press on that, you'll get a drop-down menu that allows you to change your presence from whatever it is to a different presence. You can actually intercom on these as well. So you could intercom straight to an extension within your office if you want to. And then you have the dial pad in the middle, and on the right you have the typical business phone functions like mute, hold, transfer, park, conference, and there's that handoff button that we talked about earlier. Same exact function and feature on the phone itself on the right. The layout's just a little bit different because it's a smaller screen, but same function. So in short, anything that you can do on your business phone, you can do on this Reach application, and it just gives you the ability to work from anywhere at any time. Okay. The other mobile application or software we have is called Interact Professional, and Interact Professional with Softphone. That is a PC-based application. In fact, give me a second here, and I am going to see if I can share that. I'm going to share with you my actual Interact so you get a sense of what it looks like. Hold on with me here to slide it over. Can you guys see that?
I still see the presentation, Richard.
Still see the presentation. Okay, give me one sec. Hold on.
When you say it's a PC application, does that mean it's Microsoft Windows, or does that include like the Mac OS?
Right now it's only PC. We're working on a Mac version that we'll have out shortly. We just don't have it yet. So let me do
I know
this.
I've been using the Softphone at home, working remotely, and it's worked excellent for me. Some of our employees took their phones home and they went that route. I decided to try the Softphone, and it had just been released, and I had no issues with it at all. It worked great for me.
Fantastic. Thank you for that so much. Okay, what do you see now?
Your desktop.
You do see it. Okay.
I see the Allworx icon there at the bottom.
Okay, I'm trying to get let me do this. Sorry guys, wanted to show, there we go. There we go. Now you see Interact?
Yep.
Okay. So this is Interact Professional, and this is running right now on my PC. So on the and this has the Softphone embedded in it. So you don't have to have an Allworx Verge phone on your desktop. If you, for some reason, just wanted wanted the Softphone, which is a phone with all the same functions and features running on your laptop utilizing a headset, you can do that. So on the right, I have the dial pad. So if I wanted to manually enter in using you know, my touch, my mouse, I could do that, or I could do it from, I'm tapping my keyboard right now, I could do it from my keyboard. That's one way to do it. The other way would be is I could go down here, in the middle are my contacts. So what I'm showing you right now are my internal contacts, and I could just double click on any one of these. I'm not going to do that right now, but I could double click on any one of them and it would initiate a phone call out. Once it starts to this current call section, you'll see that call highlighted in that section right there. The other thing is within my contacts, here's where I can see people's activity. So you'll see Jess Burley at extension 5581. She's lit up in red because she's on an active call right now. So if I wanted to call and talk to Jess, Jess is my engineer in Canada. Before I even call her, I know she's on an active call. So I don't want to necessarily call her right now because I know it's going to go to her voicemail, right? If I look at John Ball here, you'll see a little home next to the star. That's meaning he's working from home. That's his home icon. Joe Caldarella here has got a clock. That means he's away at the moment. Dio has got these little 3 people, little bobbleheads I call them. That means he's in a meeting right now. So is Lucas. Mark's on a call. Jay, see all the people on calls. Here's a good one, Kip, Lucky Kip. You'll see Palm Tree, he's on vacation. The palm tree indicates vacation. Anyway, so this gives me a sense, right? I know before I make a phone call what's happening. Right now, mine is lit up in a meeting, right? So I can come up here if I want and click on the arrow and drop down. And if I want to change to office, I can change to office. If I'm on vacation, whatever. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it here. And because I can't show you live, you're going to have to just trust me on this. But I'm actually taking my iPhone right now, and what I'm doing on my iPhone is I'm changing my status, and if you notice, it just changed to in office. And I did that from my iPhone. So now I'm going to change it back to in a meeting, and it's going to change it back to in a meeting. So I changed it on one device, and it showed it on another. If I changed it here, it would show up on my iPhone. It also would show up on my desk phone. So it just gives me, again, multiple ways to do that. Here's my call history in this area. So this is giving me the recent phone calls that I've made, the date and the time that the call was made, and how long the call took. It also tells me whether I placed that call with the green arrow going out or with the arrow coming in. That was an incoming call. So it shows me whether it was an incoming call, there's KT calling me, or an outgoing call. Okay, and it gives me, again, names. You can have pictures, as you see. People can post pictures of themselves that they can attach to their identity if they want to, but it gives me all sorts of information. And then on the far left here is my voicemail tab. So it's telling me right now I have 0 messages that I've not listened to. So if I haven't listened to a voicemail, if there was a new one, this would be 1. 4 is the total number of messages that are residing in my voicemail box right now, but this monitors that information and tells me if I've got a new voicemail. And then if there is, all I need to do is click on this. It takes me right to my voicemail, and I listen to my voicemail, and whether I decide to delete it or forward it or whatever, I can do that. Finally, this is a Do Not Disturb button. This is I can mute my call here. This is just lets me control audio path. And then this button here, which right now is not highlighted because I'm not utilizing this, is the ability to record. We can record calls through Interact Professional. You can record during any call, or you can set up an extension to record every call at all times if you want to. So those are some of the features and what Interact Professional looks like. It looks like a few questions came in while I was talking about Interact. Are there questions on the?
One of the questions was, what type of headset can you use, or do you have a recommendation? For example, I actually use a gaming headset because I do some gaming at home, and I'm using my home PC with the Softphone app. So I just use my regular gaming headset, which actually works quite nice.
Yeah, I've been on calls with people using their gaming headsets, and when I see them, I'm like, oh, they've got full audio because you have two earpieces, right, along with the boom mic that's attached to it. And I've heard really good things about the gaming ones. I use a VTech headset. It's manufactured by VTech, and it's actually a DECT. So there are two types of wireless headsets. There's Bluetooth, and then there's DECT. DECT has a little bit longer range that I can move away from the base from to talk on than Bluetooth does. Both work great, but I use VTech. People have used Polycom headsets. It's pretty limitless. We interop test a ton of headsets with our product, and I can provide a list of a bunch, but I honestly have never run into an issue with a headset working in conjunction, whether it's a wired headset or a wireless headset. So hopefully that answers that.
Another question came up. What did it mean when one of the contacts' name flashes red? So
like the one right now?
With the one right now.
That means the call is initiating. So it hasn't been answered or gone to voicemail. Somebody, either he's right now placing the call and there it stopped, right? So either somebody was calling Jim and it's letting you know that it's basically ringing. Those pulses are like the ringing. And then if Jim were to answer and connect to the call, it would go to solid red. In this case, I can tell you he didn't answer the call and it went to voicemail. So the line is open again. So. Any others?
I think that's it for now.
Okay. All right, let me get back to.
I know the ability to view people, their status if they were, on a call in the softphone app was really helpful for me. When you're working remotely and, some people have a phone, some people don't have a phone because they're using a soft phone, just the ability to see that they were busy was really useful.
It really does, and one of the things that we're really seeing that is so great about Interact Professional with the soft phone, or you can use Interact Professional with the Verge phone too. So you can choose. You can either use or Interact with a soft phone, or just have Interact with no soft phone and have it work with your Verge phone also. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. But one of the things that we're really seeing is because you can see all of your contacts and all of your employees. In the old days, remember how an admin or a receptionist would have a phone on their desk and it would have those, I call them sidecars, that attached to the phone and would take up a fair amount of real estate on a desk, right? Because they could only have maybe 12 or 24 programmable buttons on a single phone, and maybe you had 50 employees or more. You would need more buttons to be able to see. Well, nobody needs that anymore with this type of application because you can see everybody, you can scroll through everybody, you can click on it. It just makes it way easier to manage phone traffic and where it goes and who's on and who's not on. It's a much easier visual indicator. So. All right, I actually am noticing that we are 5 minutes before the top of the hour, and that is actually all I have for right now. So I'm going to reopen it up for questions. I am going to quickly just say again how thankful I am to KT Connections for this time and for everybody's time today, and I'm hoping this was helpful for everyone. But again, if there's any questions, I'm open to them now.
Question about licensing the Reach app. Is it an additional license, or does a license come with a phone, Richard?
So every PBX or business phone system we sell comes with one free license for the user to try. Going forward, then they buy licenses for each user that they determine they want that for. So it could be one person, then you buy a single license, but we sell them in a variety of ways. We sell them as single licenses. We sell them in packs of 5, 10, 20, I think up to 50. It just depends. And of course, Like any company, the more you purchase, the less expensive each individual license cost is. But it is an individual license based. So
Another question was using the Interact software. Can you have it dial a phone number that you've clicked on from like a web page?
very good question. Yes, you can actually. So one of the great things about Interact Professional is it comes with something called Interact Sync. And what Interact Sync does is it allows you to utilize Interact beyond what I just showed you. So yes, you could go to a website and hover over a phone number and click on that number and Interact will dial it for you. So that is one feature. Another feature with Sync is that feature that I talked about where it communicates with Outlook and looks at calendar activities to change your presence setting automatically for you. So if you're about to go into a meeting and you forget, but that meeting is in your Outlook calendar, it can change the presence setting automatically for you. Another thing it can do is it can work in conjunction with third-party software. So if you're a business who uses, let's say, Salesforce.com or Goldmine or I forget the Microsoft one off the top of my head, but any type of customer relationship management software, you can actually program it in a way where you can have screen pops. So we use that internally. So when KT Connections calls our corporate office, and let's say they want to talk to Mark, our CRM in Rochester, he can get a screen pop, and it's KT Connections. So he knows that's who's calling, and he can answer it. And he can go, hey, oh, this is, in fact, it's Rod's extension. You can say, hey, Rod, how's it going, or whatever. Allstate is a big customer of Allworx, primarily their agents. So in the city of Las Vegas, almost every Allstate agent has an Allworx system because their e-agent software works in conjunction with our phone system for that type of very thing. So when a customer calls in, they get a screen pop, and it can be, oh, hey, Mr. Jones, I see you're calling. I'll bet you're calling about your claim. Let me give you an update. So they don't have to go through a lot of hurdles. They can just jump right in. I went on a little tangent there, but that's some of the stuff with Interact as well.
So yeah, nice to hear there's lots of integrations.
Yep.
Okay, I don't have any more questions, and we are at the top of the hour.